name is Alex. I never should have stayed late on the last day of school. But Mr. Peterson needed help organizing the science lab for summer storage, and I needed the extra credit. If I'd just gone home with everyone else, none of this would have happened. Our school was built in the 90s, all concrete and narrow windows. Nothing special, except for the basement level where the old science labs were. The school board had approved funding for new labs upstairs 2 years ago, but the basement ones were still used for storage. That's where I was headed after the final bell, while everyone else was running out the doors, ready for summer break. "I won't keep you long," Mr. Peterson said, handing me a clipboard. "Just help me inventory these chemicals and you can be on your way." The basement hallway was eerily quiet, without the usual student chatter. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, one of them flickering in a steady rhythm. We worked methodically, checking bottles against the list, marking what needed to be disposed of. "What's that noise?" I asked, hearing a faint scraping sound from somewhere beyond the storage room. Mr. Peterson frowned. "Probably the janitor. Weird though, Dave usually doesn't come down here until later." We continued working, but the sound grew more distinct. Not cleaning equipment, it was more like metal dragging against concrete. "Hello?" Mr. Peterson called out, stepping into the hallway. "Dave, is that you?" No response. Mr. Peterson pulled out his phone. "No signal down here as usual," he muttered. "I don't like this. Just to be safe." He walked to the old wall phone near the door, one of those ancient school intercoms, and dialed the front office. No one answered, of course, but he left a message. "This is Mark Peterson in the basement lab. Something doesn't feel right down here. If my wife calls looking for me, tell her I'll be late, and maybe have security do a sweep." He hung up and turned to me. "Wait here, I'll check it out. Probably just the pipes. This place is falling apart." 5 minutes passed, then 10. The scraping sound had stopped, but Mr. Peterson hadn't returned. I checked my phone. No signal in the basement. Typical. "Mr. Peterson?" I called, stepping into the hallway. My voice echoed off the concrete walls. That's when I noticed the smell. Like rust and bleach mixed together. I followed the hallway toward the old biology lab, where the smell grew stronger. The door was ajar, dim light spilling out. I pushed it open. "Mr. Peter!" The words died in my throat. Inside, hunched over Mr. Peterson's motionless body, was someone in a janitor's uniform. But it wasn't Dave. This man was taller, thinner, with greasy hair hanging over his face. He was going through Mr. Peterson's pockets. I must have gasped, because he looked up. His eyes widened in surprise, then narrowed with calculation. "You're not supposed to be here," he said in a flat voice. "Everyone's supposed to be gone." That's when I noticed the ID badge clipped to his uniform. It had Dave's picture, but the face looking at me definitely wasn't Dave's. "Where's Dave?" I asked, backing up slowly. The man stood, revealing the long metal pipe in his hand, dark stains along its length. "Storage closet, 3rd floor." He smiled slightly. "He won't be cleaning anymore." I turned and ran, heart hammering against my ribs. Behind me, his footsteps echoed, unhurried, confident. He knew the layout better than I did, knew I was trapped. I sprinted down the hallway toward the stairs, yanking my phone out again. Still no signal. The stairwell door was heavy, designed to prevent fires from spreading. I slammed it behind me and started climbing, taking the steps 2 at a time. 1st floor, empty classrooms, locked doors, everyone gone. His footsteps echoed in the stairwell below. Still calm, still steady. I reached the main entrance, chained shut from the outside. End-of-year protocol. No one was supposed to be here. My mind raced through options. The gym had emergency exits. If I could reach them? I ducked into the computer lab, crouching behind the teacher's desk. Through the window, I could see the school parking lot, empty except for Mr. Peterson's car and an old van I didn't recognize. The hallway fell silent. He was listening, hunting. Under the desk, I found the landline phone. Dead. Then I remembered. The security cameras. Our school installed them last year after some vandalism. The monitor station was in the main office, and the security company would see if something was wrong. I had to reach the office. The hallway was clear when I peered out. Moving as quietly as possible, I made my way toward the administrative wing. Just as I rounded the corner, I saw him, kneeling by the office door, tools spread around him. He was dismantling the security system. He looked up and our eyes met. No surprise this time. Just cold determination. "You know?" he said conversationally, standing up. "I was just looking for the petty cash and master keys. End of year, building empty easy score." He tapped the pipe against his leg. "But witnesses change things." "They'll know it was you," I said, voice shaking. "There are cameras outside too." "Not after the power gets cut," he replied. "And by then, I'll be long gone." My back hit the trophy case. Nowhere left to run. That's when the lights outside flashed, red and blue. Through the window, I saw a police car pulling into the lot. The man's face hardened. "Who did you call?" "Nobody," I admitted, surprised myself. I couldn't. His eyes darted to the window, confusion mixing with panic. Later, I learned what happened. Mr. Peterson's wife had called the school when he didn't answer his cell phone. When no one picked up at the main office, she called again and got his voicemail from the basement, the one about something not feeling right. Concerned, she called the police to do a welfare check. The man threw down the pipe with a curse and sprinted toward the back of the school. When the police finally broke in, they found me still frozen by the trophy case. They found Mr. Peterson unconscious, but alive in the lab. And in the third-floor closet, they found Dave, bound and gagged. They caught the guy trying to escape through the athletic fields. Turns out he had hit 3 other schools in the district over the past year, always on the last day, when buildings were nearly empty. My name is Emma. What happened on the last day of school wasn't in any newspaper. The official report just called it a student incident. Our senior prank seemed harmless. 10 of us would hide after the final bell, wait until midnight, and paint our names on the auditorium's back wall, an unofficial tradition. I chose the library's study room to hide. By 5 p.m., the building was empty, except for the night security guard making his rounds. At 7 p.m., I heard the door open. I ducked behind a bookshelf, expecting the guard. It was Kevin Walsh, a junior I barely knew. He wasn't alone. 2 other juniors followed him in, Ryan and Caleb. They weren't part of our prank. "Lock the door," Ryan whispered. From his backpack, he pulled out what looked like a gun. My heart nearly stopped. "Are you sure about this?" Kevin asked nervously. "They humiliated me all year," Ryan replied. "Now it's their turn." The school intercom crackled to life. "Attention hidden seniors," Ryan's voice echoed from a recording. "We know you're here for your little prank. Now you're part of ours." I realized he must have recorded it earlier and someone else was playing it. "All exits are chained. Cell jammers are active. The guard is taking a nap." The recording continued. "You have until midnight to find your missing friends. Consider it a game." Missing friends? My boyfriend David was among those hiding. Was he okay? I texted our group chat. No signal. I crept out once the 3 left the library. In the hallway, I found my friend Zoe hiding in a classroom. "They have David and Mark," she whispered. "I saw them dragging them to the gym locker room." We carefully made our way through dark hallways. From the gym, we heard voices. Through the window in the door, I saw David and Mark tied to chairs, their faces marked with humiliating words in permanent marker. The 3 juniors surrounded them, taking photos. "Now you know how it feels," Ryan was saying, "when everyone sees your humiliation." Zoe found a fire alarm behind us. "It's our only chance," she whispered. I nodded. She pulled it. The shrieking alarm sent the juniors into panic. "I thought you disabled those," Ryan shouted at Caleb. We used the distraction to burst in. I grabbed a baseball bat from the equipment rack and swung it at Ryan's hand. The gun clattered to the floor, a realistic-looking pellet gun. Kevin ran. Caleb froze. Ryan lunged for the gun, but the security guard appeared at the door, awoken by the alarm. Later, we learned the full story. Ryan had been bullied by some seniors all year. This was his revenge. Frighten us, humiliate our friends the way he'd been humiliated, and take pictures to share online. The chains on the doors were real enough, but the cell jammers were just Wi-Fi routers with modified firmware that didn't actually work. The guard hadn't been hurt, just locked in a closet. Ryan and Caleb were expelled and faced juvenile detention for kidnapping and assault. Kevin received community service for cooperating. The school tried to minimize the incident, just a prank war gone too far. They never acknowledged how close it came to something far worse. What should have been a day of celebration became something that changed us forever. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if the guard hadn't woken up, if that gun had been real. The last day of school taught me a lesson they don't put in yearbooks: how quickly normal can become nightmare. My name is Ryan. I never thought I'd be scared of Marcus, the quiet guy from my English class. We weren't friends, but we weren't enemies either. At least that's what I thought. It was the final day of senior year. The hallways were chaotic, with people clearing lockers and signing yearbooks. I stayed late to help clean the drama room after our end-of-year celebration. When I finally headed to my locker, the school had emptied out. As I was stuffing old papers into my backpack, I noticed Marcus watching me from the end of the hall. Something about his expression made me uneasy. "Hey!" I called out. He didn't respond, just kept staring. I zipped up my bag and started walking toward the exit. Marcus blocked my path. "Remember last October?" he asked, his voice unnervingly calm. I shook my head, confused. "The party at Tyler's house? You don't remember what you did?" Suddenly it clicked. There had been a stupid prank some guys played on Marcus at that party. They'd convinced him some girl liked him, then humiliated him in front of everyone when he approached her. I hadn't planned it, but I'd laughed along with everyone else. I'd forgotten about it until now. "That wasn't me," I said. "I was just there." "You laughed," he said. "You recorded it and posted it online." My stomach dropped. He was right. I had recorded it. The worst part was the look in his eyes. They weren't angry anymore. They were dead. Like something inside him had broken months ago and never healed. I remembered now how he'd changed after that party. How he'd started wearing hoodies pulled low. How he'd stopped answering questions in class. I remembered the whispers about him seeing the school counselor. All this time, while I'd been planning for college and prom, he'd been drowning in humiliation that I helped create. "I couldn't come back to school for 2 weeks, Marcus continued, pulling something from his pocket. "My mom had to change my medication. I couldn't sleep." The knife looked small in his hand, but deadly serious. "Man, I'm sorry about that," I said, backing up slowly. "It was stupid. We were just being idiots. You ruined my life." He cut me off. "The video is still out there. People from colleges I applied to saw it." I kept backing up until I hit the lockers. Marcus moved closer, raising the knife. "Please," I begged. "I was wrong. I'll do anything to make it right." His hand trembled. "I've thought about this moment for months," he whispered. My heart pounded so hard I thought it might burst. I closed my eyes, waiting for the pain. Then I heard a clatter. The knife hit the floor. When I opened my eyes, Marcus was crying. "I wanted to scare you," he said. "I wanted you to feel what I felt. Helpless." I slid down to the floor, legs too weak to hold me. "I'm so sorry," I said, meaning it this time. We both sat there in silence for what felt like forever. I noticed a small notebook that had fallen from his pocket when he dropped the knife. It lay open on the floor between us, pages filled with dark, disturbing sketches. Drawings of me, with my eyes scratched out. Pages of writings about what he wanted to do to me. Plans, detailed and methodical, about how today would unfold. My blood ran cold when I realized he'd even drawn a map of the school with the drama room circled. He'd known exactly where I'd be. He'd been watching me for months, learning my habits, my routines. In another drawing, he'd sketched my house, my bedroom window. He knew where I lived. "How long have you been planning this?" I whispered, unable to look away from the notebook. "Since the day you laughed," he said simply. "Every night before I go to sleep, I've thought about this moment." The school security guard found us during his final rounds. Marcus was suspended and got mandatory counseling. I was questioned by police but didn't press charges. That summer, I deleted the video from everywhere I could find it. I wrote Marcus a long apology letter. He never responded.